So today we're going to go over the Slay the Spire Ironclad and do a tier list for all the cards. And not going to waste your time, let's get started straight away. Anger is, I'd say, a high A. It's one of the best common cards you can get on Act 1, but when you start getting to Act 2, Act 3, it has diminishing returns. You can really clog up your deck when you get to Act 3 and you're trying to pare it down to just the bare essentials. So maybe put that, I don't know if we should put it A or B. Leave it at A for now, but we might need to move it down. Next up, Armaments. Now, Armaments is a bit of a trap because upgraded, it's okay, but if you've started upgrading the rest of your deck at campfires, then it kind of loses its value. I mean, the 5 blocks inconsequential. It's the reason you pick that is to upgrade cards. So if you've already upgraded your cards outside of fights, it can get bad, but I'd say it's just okay at best. Barricade is a solid pick. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I would say you can build a deck around it. If you pick this up at the end of Act 1 and you've already got some good defense cards, it can do some work, but theoretically you can go into Infinite, but you need to have a lot of specific cards to get that sorted. There are a lot of cards that kind of cater towards that playstyle, but it's not the strongest playstyle, I would say. It's much better to go for exhaust themes and gaining strength. If you're going to try and beat it at Ascension 20, then Barricade is not so good. Ascension 1 and 2, I'd say it's alright. Now Bash, for a base deck common card, I'd say it's quite good. Don't know if I'd put it at A tier, but upgraded, Act 1, A tier, low A. Let's leave it at A for now. So the next up, Battle Trance. That's an instant S tier. You draw an extra cards. What's not to like about it? 0 cost. Now, it does stop you drawing cards from afterwards, but if you use it strategically, it shouldn't be a big negative. Now, next up, we'll go for Berserk. This thing's going to get you killed if you don't use it correctly. It can be powerful if you've got a lot of high-cost cards, but I wouldn't say it's an instant pick, you know? There are better rares to get. If you're feeling confident, go for it, but I personally wouldn't pick Berserk. What I would pick, though, every time is Feed. I'd say that's the best card there is. Can't think of a better card midway through the game. Now, when you get to the end fight, it has exhaust, so you don't need to worry about that too much. But generally, if you can get it early in Act 1, then I'd say I'd pick it at the end of Act 1 as well, because you've still got a lot of fights in Act 2 and 3 you can go through. Don't know if I'd pick it at the end of Act 2, but it's still worth it. Now, Bludgeon, it's like an expensive version of Carnage. I'd say it's B tier, but I'd pick it over Barricade. It's good Act 1, it's okay Act 2, it's kind of dead weight in Act 3. I'd say it's the same with Carnage, but the main difference is with Carnage, it's only 2 cost, so the fact that it's uncommon as well is better because you're more likely to pick it up halfway through Act 1. It has Ethereal, which can be a disadvantage sometimes, but if you've got better cards later in the game, then Carnage Ethereal works great because it just like takes it out your deck. You don't need to worry about it. Now, next up, Blood for Blood. With Blood for Blood, I would say low A tier. Deals good damage. The problem is you're only going to use it once, maybe twice. Let's put it at a high B tier for now, between Barricade and Bludgeon. Good Act 1, okay Act 2. Act 3 it's not going to be work. Now, Bloodletting. Should I put that in A tier? It's one of the few ways you can gain extra energy with Ironclad, so I'd say it's quite good. Yeah, the 3 hit points is bad, but you can negate it. There's ways to heal with Ironclad. So upgraded, Bloodletting's good. Unupgraded, it's just okay, so I don't know whether I should keep it in an A tier or not. We'll see how it goes. Now, next S tier is Corruption. You can build your deck around it. end of Act 1, end of Act 2, it's still a viable card to pick. You can exhaust cards, and you can pare down your deck, so you just defense, 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 and when you've built up enough momentum, swing in with a massive attack. Now, Brutality, another one of these cards that deal damage to you. I was seeing card draws really good, but at the cost of health every turn, not so much. It's better than Berserk. Is it good? It's debatable. So, Body Slam upgraded is good if you have other defense cards. It's just okay on Act 1. In Act 2 and 3 it's not so good if it's unupgraded. I'd pick an upgraded one, yeah. Demon Form is low A tier. Now, it's scaling. Every turn you're going to gain more strength, which is fantastic. But the only problem is, it's 3 cost. And if you've not got a relic that's going to give you extra energy, that's just going to take up your whole turn and leave you open for loads of damage from other attacks. So, Burning Pact is probably A tier. Drawing cards is good. Exhausting cards is really good. Putting them both together, it's fantastic. It helps you draw the card you want to play. And the utility in that is not something you pick up on when you first start playing the game, but the more you play, the more you realise how valuable a Burning Pact can be. Another S tier, I'd say, is Disarm. It's a way to negate multiple attacks. If you're up against Hexaghost or Book of Stabbing, things like that, this thing can change the game. It can literally swing it in your favour. What have we got next? Clash. Nah. Is that the first D tier card? I think it might be. Deals good damage, but trying to play it off is just too difficult. I mean, it synergizes with Corrupt, but it's not worth picking up, trust me. And you pair it up with Combust and that card that gives you strength every time you take damage, it can really accelerate. I'd say it's good mid Act 1 and mid Act 2, but when you get to Act 3 it starts losing its value a little bit. Now the next one, Clothesline, it's just good, it's not amazing. Applying Weak is kind of defense, but the fact it costs 2 means it's either going to synergize with Necronomicon or it's going to be dead weight in your deck. Now, Double Tap. It's good, but it's not great. It can be really good with specific cards, but trying to synergize it with 2 cost, 3 cost cards is just a lot of work. I'd say is it better than Bludgeon? Yeah, I'd pick it over Bludgeon. So it's high B tier. Now, next up, Heavy Blade. That's a trap for new players. Yes, you are going to get strength. Yes, you are going to compound it, but the problem is you've got Sword Boomerang. It's 1 cost. You've got things like Twin Strike, which is not as good as Sword Boomerang, but it still does a good bit of damage. Okay, so next one, let's go for Dual Wield. It can be good. If you've got a good deck, it makes it better. Is it worth picking? Not every time. It's a situational card. It kind of depends what you get in Act 1, but if you can't get a great card in Act 1, I would not pick it until Act 3, when you've already got your deck nailed down and you know what your strengths are and what you're aiming for. Next thing, we're going for Entrench. Now, I'll put Entrench next to Barricade and Body Slam because that's an archetype. It is powerful. Doubling things is always going to be powerful, but you need to build up your defense first. So it synergizes with certain cards. Is it worth picking up by itself? Not really. Exhume is a good independent card though. I'd put it in A tier, yeah. I mean, there's so many good cards that exhaust. If you can find one and then exhume, then you're laughing. But by itself, without any exhaust cards in the deck already, maybe just put it at A tier. We'll put it above Cleave. Next up, Fiend Fire is another S tier. Exhausting cards, paring down your deck so you're drawing only the best cards is fantastic, and dealing damage for every time is even better. Especially synergizes with strength, and synergizes with, if you've still got a load of base cards in your deck and you want to get rid of them, chuck out the base cards with Fiendfire, then you're only drawing good cards from there. Now Flex is not good. For it to even be good, you'd need to have artifact charges, but your artifacts are better spent in other places. Hemokinesis, that's a sleeper. I'd say it's a good low A tier card. Yeah, you're dealing yourself 3 damage, which isn't good, but the amount of damage you deal with it to the enemy, especially at Act 1, is great. And I'd say it holds up in Act 2 as well. If you've got a way to heal yourself, then it's fantastic. No, Inflame is just okay. It's only 1, which is good. It gives you a basic strength upgrade, but if you're not compounding that and building up strength every turn, then it's just alright. I'd put it above all the block cards here. Now, next one, Juggernaut. It's in the Barricade tier. If you've already got a defense deck, then Juggernaut can help out at the end of Act 1. But when you get to Act 3, dealing 5 damage for every time you block isn't that good. I mean, it synergizes with Metallicize a little bit, but the fact you've got to spend 3 mana just to get that combo to go off, I don't think it's worth it. Limit Break is high B tier unupgraded. If it is upgraded, I'd say it's like solid mid A tier. Doubling your strength without an exhaust, you can pull it off 2 or 3 times. That's infinite potential there. So yeah, definitely pick up a Limit Break if you can. And again, another great card that has exhaust, gain 30 block. There's no downsides to this. I mean, these other cards can set up a high block deck, but I would pick that outside of a high block deck just because it's so powerful by itself. Now, go for Offering. That's an S tier, but how high is it in S tier? I'd say it's higher than Battle Trance, but I want to put Corruption up above it. Yeah, I'd say this is a good way to grade it. I mean, you're drawing cards, you're getting life. Sorry, you're losing life, but you're getting mana, so there's not a lot of downsides to this. If you can heal, then Offering's a no-brainer. Now, Immolate, big solid way to deal damage to multiple enemies. It's not as good as Fiendfire because you're getting the burn and you're not getting the discard or exhaust. But yeah, Immolate's good. It's a solid good pick to deal damage to multiple enemies. Perfect Strike, that's a trap. Apart from Pommel Strike and your basic cards, which you want to get rid of. Perfect Strike, I mean, technically Act 1 you can deal a good chunk of damage, but it's not going to get better as the game goes on. If you're adding extra strike cards in, then you're doing something wrong. Possible Necronomicon synergy, but I wouldn't pick it. No. Intimidate I would pick. That's a sleeper S tier. No, I'd say it's a high A actually. No, it's a mid A. Not as good as I think, but yeah, put it low A actually. That's probably the best place for it. It's good, but it's not great. Exhaust to 0 cost is good, but it's taking up an extra slot in your deck, so depends on the size of your deck, I would say. Now, best common in the game, Pommel Strike. Act 1, you're getting a good bit of damage, and you've got card draw. Act 3, if it's upgraded, you're getting good card draw, and you're getting a bit of damage as well. It's going to be consistently a good card throughout the whole game. Doesn't have any major weaknesses, apart from being a 1-cost common, maybe? But it's strange, because if you compare it to things like Headbutt, you think it's kind of comparable. But not really. It has synergies with Headbutt, but Headbutt itself, I put a high C tier. I mean, putting a card from your discard on top of your draw pile, it synergizes with Limit Break, it synergizes with Pommel Strike and Flame Barrier, for example, but generally, it's not worth it. Squeeze is not worth the juice. Rampage, Poor Man's Claw. It's a trap card, but I'd say it's still a good pick for Act 1. You know what, let's put it in C tier. I'd pick it above a Headbutt, but I wouldn't pick it above an Armaments. Yeah. Ghost Armor. I might just tempted to make a different tier just for all these block cards, but it's just okay. It's not my first pick. For an uncommon, it's an extremely common feeling card. Now, here's a good uncommon. Metallicize. It's going to give you more value the longer the fight goes on. Just lay it down and forget about it. Works well with Juggernaut, but by itself, it's still a good card. It's still going to save you a good bit of health every turn. Now, Reaper. Do we put that over Offering? It's a way to heal up, so potentially yes. Deals damage to all creatures, synergizes with strength, exhausts itself, so set it and forget it. It is just unblocked damage, so if you're up against things like Avocado, it doesn't really pay off, but against lots of weaker enemies, well worth it. I'd pick it end of Act 1, end of Act 2. Might pick it at the end of Act 3 actually, it's that good. So Rupture is one of my favourite cards. Is it a great card? Yes. Is it the best card? Is it S tier? No. I'd put it up here just because it's better than Demon Form. It's one energy and you've got chances of gaining strength multiple times in a turn. If Demon Form was 2 mana, then it would be better, but Rupture's up there. One of the better A cards, I think. Now, Iron Wave. Solid pick in Act 1, but it just gets worse and worse as the game goes on. Another one of these block synergies that aren't as good as the exhaust synergies, aren't as good as the strength synergies. So we'll just have to put it in mid C tier for now. Searing Blow, meme card. If you want to waste your upgrades on Searing Blow, then go ahead, but outside of that one Jobs video, where he had 2 videos in the same week, but it's like Claw. Yes, it's fun to play with, but if you're serious about winning the game, I wouldn't pick it. Seeing Red. If it's upgraded, 0 cost for extra 2 mana, it's great. And the only downside is that it costs 1 unupgraded and it takes up a slot in your deck. But it exhausts, so it's not too bad. It's I'm not excited about picking one up, but it is a stable card to get. Pummel, I would say Pummel's A tier. It's not as strong as Sword Boomerang, but it's up there. I mean, dealing 2 damage 4 times, you're dealing 8 damage baseline. You have any strength, you just time and strength by 4, so what's not to like? The other side of it, it does exhaust, so it's a good synergy with where is it here? My brain's gone blank, I can't find it anywhere. And don't worry too much about it. So, Fire Breathing, next one. Dealing damage whenever you draw a card. That's a status or a curse. I'd say it's better than Limit Break. Is it? No. I'd say it's an A tier though. I mean, against specific enemies, it's going to win you the fight, but when you're trying to fight the heart, it's still got a little bit of value, but not much. The other cards to pick for that. Another fantastic common. Pommel Strike and Shrug It Off are both S tier picks. Pommel Strike is better than Shrug It Off, but I'd say pick up at least one Shrug It Off and first act and you're sorted. Looking a bit junky now. You can't even see the base deck now. Let's draw this down a little bit. Draw this up a little bit. Perfect. So, next card we're going to pick is Dark Embrace. Whenever a card is exhausted, draw one card. If you've got an exhaust theme going, it can compound how good it is. Would I pick it without exhaust cards in my deck? No. Maybe, depending on which fights I'm expecting to go up against. It's a low A tier because it can draw as many cards as you want, depending on how you built your deck, but it's just okay, it's not amazing. Let's put it in B tier for now. IB. Now we're running out of space here. So, next one we're looking at Strike, we'll put in base deck, no need to worry about it. Havoc, meme cards, Whirlwind. We can even get it up here. Whirlwind, I'd say it's a low S tier, high A tier. We'll put it in between Improvise and Limit Break. So the next one, Uppercut, is an S tier. We'll need to scroll up, but yeah, total S tier. Better than, is it better than Pommel Strike? I don't know. But Uppercut by itself is good. If it's upgraded, it's amazing. It can help you get through end of Act 1, can carry you through Act 2, and it's still valid in Act 3, especially both weak and vulnerable. So next one, Power Through, either low A or high B, I would say. I used to hate this card because the thought of putting wounds in your deck is horrible, but gaining so much block, I'd say, yeah, we'll put it with a barricade there. Spot Weakness, I'd put at a low S tier. It's a way to gain strength. What's not to like about that? Where is Boomerang Strike? There's my other S tier card right there. Yeah, Pommel Strike, Boomerang, and Shrug It Off are the three common cards I would pick up, no problem, no doubt about it. I'd pick them over a lot of the uncommon cards, actually. Wild Strike. I mean, it's good damage for turn Act 1, but it gets worse the longer you have it. It's better than Clothesline, though. Rage. Not a fan of Rage. It's just okay. Has synergy with Anger, but you need to deal a lot of cards to actually gain some good effects from it. True Grit, high A card. Upgraded, low S tier card. Getting to choose what you're exhausting is great. The block is just a bonus. But if it's not upgraded, the randomness, it kind of just puts it down a tier. Dropkick. Dropkick's a B tier. If you've got an upgraded bash, then it's great, but when you get to Act 3, it's just another way to try and filter through cards. The damage isn't here nor there. You can definitely build around it, but I wouldn't use it as a first pick. Now, Twin Strike, low A. It's a good, solid, basic card. Deals 2 damage. Oh, sorry, deals damage twice. So, strength synergy is fantastic, but when you get to the third act, it kind of just gets outperformed by Boomerang Strike. Is that the top of the B tier? Yeah, top of B. Wouldn't put it in A tier, but it's definitely a strong card. Thunderclap. Good B tier card. Pick one up, it's going to deal damage to everybody. It's good, but it's not amazing. Sentinel. Works well if you can exhaust it. If you can't, it's just okay. I'd put it high C tier. Yeah. Put it above Rampage, actually. If you can synergize it, then it's good. Now, A tier? I mean, if you're up against Slime Boss or something that deals lots of status cards, then it is absolutely fantastic. But it can be situational. Some fights it's useless, some fights it's really good. We'll put it above Bludgeon. Reckless Charge. Good Act 1, mediocre Act 2, horrible Act 3. Shockwave is okay. It has good area of effect, it exhausts itself, but for 2 mana it's expensive, so take it with caution. If you don't have a lot of block cards in your deck, then Shockwave's one you pick up. Second Wind. No, I wouldn't say that's fantastic. It's a good B tier card though. You're gaining lots of block, you're paring down your deck. You're only going to use it once. I wouldn't use it twice. It all depends on what else is in your hand, but for getting rid of things like defend and strikes, then I'd say it's got its uses. Warcry, not a fan, don't like it. Sever Soul, it's just too hard to pull this off. The fact that you need to try and exhaust all your defense cards, or you've got a very specific situation, you're only playing it at the end of your turn, and if you've got 2 mana left at the end of your turn and you're dealing a fair bit of damage, but nah, it's not worth it. Finally, Feel No Pain. Whenever a card is exhausted, gain 3 block. I'd say it's a good B tier. It's not as good as Metallicize because, again, you have to rely on having an exhaust before you take it. And then, finally, random cards I'm not a fan of. So, there you have it. What do you think of the tier list? Is Pommel Strike higher up? Just leave a comment and tell me which one I've got wrong, okay? Catch you guys next time. Bye.